What we can expect between these deals signed between China and Pakistan. We're joined by author and Professor Anil Gupta, and a regular here on the show. He's also chair of strategy, globalization, and entrepreneurship at the University of Maryland's Business School. Good to see you.
Very good to see you, Phil.
There's a lot to talk about in this deal. $46 billion, that was expected. But what does it mean? Let's start with Pakistan. What do they get out of this?
Yeah, I think for Pakistan, this is a very big deal, and particularly on the energy sector, because if you look at electricity, Pakistan currently has installed capacity of about 24 gigawatts. By 2018, according to these agreements, Pakistan will add another 40% as much.
And they need it because there's the blackouts and they don't have a good infrastructure with respect to energy, right? So China is going to help them do that.
Absolutely. In fact, I mean, without electricity, essentially the country almost literally remains in the dark ages.
Who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for the bill?
Well, I mean, initially, of course, it will be loans from China because Pakistan doesn't have the money.
So, well, that's what I was getting at. China is going to loan Pakistan the money so that Pakistan can turn around and buy the equipment from China. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, of course, these are projects, yes. But fundamentally, you're right that China will loan the money. But at the same time, the whole point is that infrastructure is the foundation for building an economy. And so if infrastructure, if electricity, if roads help Pakistan grow at a faster pace, which it does need to, because Pakistan has been growing at about 4% a year for the last 10 plus years.
Can I ask if this is the clean energy or the dirty energy?
No, I think for Pakistan...
Or a mixture of the two?
No, I think it's all clean energy, or almost all clean energy, because Pakistan, unlike China or India, actually doesn't rely on coal, or almost does not rely on coal. China relies on 80% on coal for energy. India relies about 70%. Pakistan relies less than 5%. So actually, Pakistan's electricity comes from oil, comes from gas, and comes from hydro. So actually, a bulk of it is really all clean energy, by and large, clean, relatively speaking, compared to coal.
So this is a win for Pakistan. China obviously is a win for them as well, especially for the companies that are going to be involved in this trade deal.
Yes.
What else besides the energy deal itself? There's also a free trade zone as well, right?
The free trade zones, and of course, I mean, it's energy, it's the road and rail, the whole corridor, the China-Pakistan corridor that goes from Kashgar all the way to Karachi and beyond to the port of Gwadar. And so I think that when you build electric capacity, electricity generation, when you build road and rail infrastructure, I think that should lead to significant plus for Pakistan.
And when we talk about the Silk Road project, I mean, first of all, it's a massive project, and this is a small part of it.
Correct.
But is it even worth discussing if this plays a role in that? Because you talk about the roads, you talk about the rails, the trains. I mean, that's all actually part of that same theme.
I think so. I mean, if you look at the 46 billion, or even just over the next 5 years, a good chunk of that 46 billion will be kind of early on. So now that even if it is 30 billion over the next 5, 6, 7 years, that's a significant chunk of money for Pakistan. But also, this is a very good showcase for what for the one road, one belt idea, because you got to start somewhere, and this actually is a very solid beginning on that journey.
China's concerns about in the event that an opposition party or another party who might feel differently about these projects were to be put in office. Is there any realistic way to safeguard deals like this? I mean, one party's in office, next year they switch and they said, we don't want this deal anymore. I mean, what can you really do?
In the case of Pakistan, unlike, for example, let's say what happened in Sri Lanka, right? In the case of Pakistan, I don't think that's a concern for China. Basically because the Pakistan-China relationship, and you go back to the 1950s, has been what both sides define as an all-weather friendship. So you have dictatorships, you have democracies, you have one party gets elected, you have the other party gets elected, but the China-Pakistan relationship has remained solid. So, and in fact, Pakistan, unfortunately, doesn't have too many friends right now. And China is a very solid friend. So it's hard to imagine how any future leadership in the foreseeable, in the coming years, would want to annoy China or would want to do something that would be perceived by China as
Well,
really anti-China.
I only have another minute left, but there's also a cooperation on other levels as well, including military.
Yes. And of course, I mean, there's the sale of submarines to China. China has already been cooperating with Pakistan in terms of production of jet fighters, in terms of production, of course, of nuclear weaponry. But, that's nothing new. I mean, that's
Do you think, look, do you think India, being its neighbor, who has been critical of some of these deals in the past, what do they think of the deal?
I think from India's point of view, this is a plus. Because basically, a Pakistan that's economically doing better, that has electricity, that has roads, that has rail infrastructure, is a Pakistan that is likely to be more stable, less likely to be susceptible to falling, essentially, to internal, perhaps, fragmentation.
Yeah.
And neither India nor China want Pakistan to become unstable or to become fragmented. So I think India ought to welcome this development.